Hi friends, welcome back to part 2 of the 24-hour skiff build. If you missed last week's episode, be sure to check out the link above to watch that first one and get you caught up to date. I'm stoked to share this build with you. So without further ado, let's get this video started. 8 hours into this is where we're at. Got a lot done today. Got the transom taken care of. Cavasil mixed with resin, made our putty. This is bonded. We're gonna let that dry overnight, and then in the morning, we're gonna glass over this whole thing. A couple laminations, and yeah, transom will be done. All right, so here we are. I took off the clamps, took out the screws, did a little cleanup just with the dual action sander. All I wanted to do really was to knock down where some of the resin aerosol mix had come through the Kusa board. So just get a clean surface and cleaned up the edges. So now what I'm gonna do is get some cloth, lay it out, cut it up, fit it, and do it. Ain't that right, Tiny Boat Nation? Woo! Gonna kill it! All right, I just finished. Got this trimmed to be nice and level, fairly level. I'm just gonna hit it really quick to try to give it a last little bit. Clean up the edges, and then basically this will be ready for glass. And then I'm gonna crawl underneath, undo the little canvas, unscrew that, and then grind from the bottom. Just prepare the surface, and then we'll fill and glass from the top. We're on about hour 20 right now. We got 4 hours left. Whew. We had a little threatening showers, but they're leaving us alone. So what we're gonna do now is push, final push. 4 hours left, get all this glass work done. Oh, I can't see, sweat in my eyes. I need a headband. Let's do it. All right, so next on the list, I want to fill this void. So I take some scrap pieces of foam, cut them up, stuff them between the fiberglass, and then use a 2-part expanding foam to fill all the voids. Once it's hardened, it's ready for me to trim. So I just do a rough cut with a Sawzall blade by hand, and then it's ready for me to sand. All right, so here's where we're at. Just finished sanding down all of the expanding foam. Let's take a look. Came out so good. Let's take a look underneath as well. So we are happy with that. So what we're gonna do now, we are a 2-hour crunch. We're gonna be close in trying to make this 24 hours. We had a delay, it rained a bunch today. I'm gonna get ready, I'm gonna cut up some cloth, and yeah, let's get the glass and I'm gonna get out of this freaking suit. These things work so good, but these are like wearing plastic bags. Sweat my butt off. So check it out. Before I do any laminating, even cutting my material, I really want a clean surface. So this is a little overkill, but I'm going to be rolling out some pretty big pieces. I want to keep from doing too many joints or overlapping. What I mean by that is I want to do my laminating in as few pieces as possible. So I'm going to go for the entire strip on the top and the entire strip on the bottom in one shot, one big piece. I'm going to show you the key and the trick to doing that, so you're not going with a bunch of little pieces. What I like to do is write out my measurement. I like to label, right? So the A pieces, which I'll then be able to mark them after I cut them. I do a circle. I'm going to need 2 of them, 3.5 inch by 82 inches. And then my B pieces, which will be for the bottom. You know, I could go a T and a B, top and bottom. Sometimes I work, if I'm working from the front of a boat back, I'll do, friends driving by. I'm going to mark these, and as I cut them, I just add a little check mark for each piece. So these pieces are extra long. So what I do is I do a measurement. I go my 0, a 50, and what I'll do is I'll just mark part of my cloth. So I just go 50, boom, and now I'm just going to add 32 inches to that. Cut it. I've got my length of 82, and then I can split it down the middle. I've got my two pieces. Let me tell you what, if you're gonna do any glass work, invest in a good pair of shears, scissors. You want some quality, not crap like this. This doesn't work. I lent out my pair. They will last you forever. You can sharpen them. I mean, literally will last you forever. So a quality pair of fiberglass shears is well worth the money, and it makes life so much easier. They're bigger, you'll get better cuts, it's easier on your hands. I'm having to make do with this. Luckily, I'm not cutting too much. So this is what I'm using. All right, so now I've got my two stacks. What I'm gonna be doing is using this as my wet out table. So I'm gonna lay these out, I'm gonna wet them out, and then show you how I handle a big piece like this and putting it on the boat. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the boat down. My lamination areas, I'm going to wipe down with acetone. All right, so everything's clean. Got myself a little bed down there. No, I like to be comfortable. It is so important when you're doing fiberglass work. You don't want to put yourself in a position to be rushed. And if you're uncomfortable, you'll naturally rush through your laminations, which means you might not get all the air out, you might not soak everything right, you might overlook something. So I want to be comfortable. And the other key to not feeling rushed during laminating is most people put way too much hardener. So when you're working with polyester resin especially, you can get it to kick off really quick and really hot. I like to give myself plenty of time to work with it. I'm in Florida, it's super hot, we're pretty much summertime, so I go with a 1%. That's the amount of hardener that I use. And again, depending on how many laminations will also affect how much time. So the thicker you build volume-wise of glass or resin, it's gonna kick off and build up heat much quicker. So I'm only doing 2 laminations. I can totally get away with wetting out both pieces and have more than enough work time to lay them up and to work out all the air bubbles and get them the way I want them to be. But before I start glassing, I'm gonna mix up a little putty. It's gonna be a resin and Cavasil mix, or Aerosil, same product, just different names. And that's gonna give me a little, people call it peanut butter, but that's gonna allow me to wipe over and use it as like a filler. It'll be mixed the same ratio, and that's gonna fill in any little voids I have in the foam, little cracks, you know, get it ready for then my wet glass to go right on it, wet on wet. So I'm gonna mix up my peanut butter now. I'm gonna use my little squeegee, wipe it on, and then wet out my cloth and put the cloth on. So that's the plan. All right, so I really wanted to walk you through the wetting out process and applying the putty mix as well. So first thing I'm doing here is I'm just being generous. I'm pouring the resin onto my glass and rolling it, spreading it pretty evenly. And what I'm looking for is you'll notice that as the glass becomes more saturated, it becomes more transparent. You can see the dark spots. And by the time I'm done with this, I should basically have a uniform, transparent piece of fiberglass. And what I'm also gonna do is just let this sit for a bit as I roll out my foam and the rest of the areas and surfaces that I'm gonna be bonding to. I then fold up my pieces, and notice how I fold these up. I just do little layers. That way it's going to be a lot easier for me to lay them out. I then take my putty, I spread it, fill all the voids, fill any sharp edges, and now I'm ready to take my glass and basically just lay them wet on wet. I'm going to first just lay them out real rough, and then I'm going to go over, work out the air. And this is about the point that my GoPro dies.
We're back in action.
All right, we're back in action. I just finished the centerboard box, sealing it, laminating it. The GoPro, of course, dies in the middle of, I think well, I guess you'll see it. Laminated. Came out super good. Inside, I'm happy with it. So now we are at the 24-hour mark. I think we're maybe a little bit over. Just the weather and having to run some errands and do things. were pushed a little bit farther today, but it's all good. We're close. We're close to the 24-hour period. So I'm gonna do my measurements or trace, lay out my cloth for the transom, and let's get this thing laminated. And after that, it'll be dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll go for a test ride. Okay, so here we go. Got a fresh battery in the GoPro. The battery went dead. And no, it didn't go dead. I just didn't record. But I got everything laid out, cut out, ready to mix some resin. We're gonna wet out these pieces, slap them on. And luckily Travis, the guy over there in the hat, reminded me to GoPro to film. All right, so I just mixed up some of our putty, and this is just to give us a nice round edge, fill up some of the holes, little porous areas. I'm gonna wet out the glass now, and then start putting these laminations on there. All right, the way I go with this is I'll roll one out, let it be soaking. I've got this one that's already soaked. This is wet out. Now I'm gonna lay this while that is absorbing and soaking. And I always want to go on these, especially on the 1708, you've got the woven side and then you've got the matte side. The matte side always goes down. Oh yeah! Oh man! This boat might work! Here's a pro tip. Wear multiple pairs of gloves so that if you need to take them off and remix, you just go boom! Boom! Okay, so that was how you do it without saying how we do it. Everything's laid up. All right, so with the glass work done, I was able to throw it out in the sun, and in about 3 hours, I really took advantage of the Florida sun and heat that built up. And I just did a quick little buzz down, knock off any sharp edges, trim it, and I was ready to hang the motor. All right, so we got the motor on. As expected, we're gonna need a wedge here because the motor's sitting, trimmed up quite a bit. Still, it's gonna work. And one way to find out. Here we go, we're loaded. Test run time. This is, I can't wait, this is gonna be awesome. This thing looks bad. We got our support vessel. We're ready. All right, so there you have it. This thing is a crusher. We just got back from our run. Wow, this thing, I'm not surprised. I knew it was gonna be pretty solid, but wow, we cruising. It was a bit choppy. It did good. I mean, with Joey and I, we were cruising at 19, 20 miles an hour, easy. And then when we goosed it, I got 26 miles an hour on the Navionics app, which is pretty awesome. I mean, 20-foot boat with a 25 horsepower going 25 miles an hour, basically. Definitely after adding the wedge in back and then doing a little hull modification, this thing is going to be probably a 30-mile-an-hour skiff. Okay, so that concludes part 2 of this 24-hour build. I did not expect to go into 3 videos, but to be honest, there was just so much footage, and I still haven't even tapped into the Bahamas portion of the trip. So there is going to be a part 3 that I will be uploading next week. Here we go, fully loaded, about to depart. Stuart, work our way south. All right, so here we go. This is our 24-hour build boat. We are getting ready to take this thing to the Bahamas. Yes, we're crossing over. We've got a nice weather window late tonight and early tomorrow morning. Well, friends, that concludes this video. We've knocked out the building portion of the 24-hour skiff, so now all that's left is our Bahamas adventure, and let me tell you, it is quite an adventure. I can't wait to share it with you. Unfortunately, it's not going to be until next week, but hey, good things come to those who wait. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, your views, your comments, your subscriptions. I appreciate you guys so much, and I do these videos for you. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.